So we cut this plank in a video before, and I've always said that they don't need any fitting whatsoever. Well, we're fitting to the radius, the hollow that we've got on the boat, and that's basically it. It has no hollow back aft here. It's pretty flat, very flat. So up here just a little bit on the two edges, so it'll fit that concave planking right there, and that's it. So we're going to paint a little bit more of it, and I'm basically done actually, or close to it. And I can use a flat plane. I've got a number 5 here. I don't have to use a hollowing plane or anything like that, but on most planking that does need hollowing, you can still use a number 5 because it is not that much difference. And I've had all kinds of backing planes, and I've done it 1,000 times. And a number 5, you can do both. You can make it convex or concave. So, that's what I always do. I turn right for my number 5. And when it's cut nice and smooth all along like that, you don't have any lumps in it. You can tell just by hearing it. Now I've sharpened the blade on a little bit of a radius like this, so it'll really only cut in the middle. And it works really, really nice. You're not dragging any of the edges or leaving a scratch mark that the edges would leave. And I can actually do a concave surface with it to an extent. You don't need to have a special plane to back it out. You use a number 5, works like $1 million. Let's take a peek at it here. Just a quick one. Those things kind of even there. Yeah. See, all I need to do is that with a straight edge and let the light shine under it. That's good. That's getting square here. Nice. Nice. That should be it. Let's try that. All right, now it's time to hang the plank and clamp it up there dry and see what it all looks like. So I've got a mock-up here I can line up right there. Like that. I can basically do that myself. I could probably put a clamp on myself, but I don't need to because we got Ken. No. These things are something right here. This whole arrangement is really cool. We've got aluminum on the corners of the plank so we don't squash that. These things push like 600 pounds. And up on this end, we're using this bracket that we've made up. And I kind of invented this whole setup here, but I'm not worried about having invented it. I'm just want it to work really well. And it does. So we're pretty happy. Let me take a piece and drive this end down until that mark shows up a tiny bit. That's it. Up. Another one right here. That's good. Well, we've got the plank hung in place and pushed right down nice and flat back aft here. You can actually tell by just tapping on it. Listen to that, solid, solid. It's quite solid. So it's up against the planking behind it. Now we're going to add a few more clamps. I'm not going to tighten this one up too much because we're going to put a couple of clamps across the boat. But now you can see it just pulling that plank right down. Great. Let me tap a little bit in here. Now from here forward really is the most twist there is in this plank. So you know, we're gonna make sure we get all that twist that we need. We've got this system right here working out really good. Look at that. Awesome. Now I get a little pressure on that. I can take a little plastic mallet. What have I got here? I got it past the rabbit. Wait a minute. Yeah. All right. There we go. I think it's going to stay right there. Yeah, I think so.
Lou, do you want to use this clamp? Want to cut for cut?
Yeah, let me just put a little pressure on this one first. Okay. Wow. Get that. All right, let's put a clamp across. I'm right about here. Was that right? Yeah. All right, let me get the mallet here. Let me stick that. Here it is.
It's pretty tight.
Pretty tight?
Pretty tight.
Tighten it up some more. Get in there. All right. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, let me tap it a little bit. Oh, you know what? Let me tap it up. No, you're gonna loosen it up. Sorry, it's gonna blow right off. There you go. There you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now we're going to do a little check on how it fits. And I've got quite a thin feeler gauge in here. And I get just a little pressure there, a little space, little tiny bit. And you know, it's funny, as you get going up in here, it's a little tiny bit lower the line. And we're talking a very small amount, but the rest of it split the pencil line in half. And what I say is we use the same batten to cut this as we did to draw that. And we planed a tiny bit off of this side. That accounts for part of it. And, you know, maybe this line, the pencil line, was a little bit irregular in that area. So what I say is just like I said before, when you do this kind of spiling, you do this kind of work, even up in here, you know, in the line, in the planks above the magic line, you know, you're going to correct it every time. I'm not going to fall for that. I'm going to have it exactly the same width as this, you know, just by stretching that out a tiny bit and that, and then we'll fit the plank to that. So, you know, it works out really, really nicely. We're talking a 32nd of an inch here. We're not talking any space or anything like that. So I'm going to check it a little bit more forward. We already know aft fits, so that fits real nice. That fits really nice. That's where we had the problem. Look at that, Ken. We know we don't have to go forward to that. So the only place I found with any space at all is, where the hell did I even have it?
Well, if you can't find it, that's good news.
Yeah, well, I tightened the clamps up a tiny bit. Well, it's got nothing. No space anywhere.
Must be the humidity in there.
Now, the only thing you're looking at here, though, is it looks like there's a little space. It looks like a little problem. But the thing is this plank is hanging over this plank a tiniest little bit. And it's creating a shadow in there, you know, because the lighting's from the top instead of the bottom. So that is perfectly tight. And when you plane that out, when that's planed out, you won't even see that seam. You won't even be able to find it. So, you know, I think it'd be said that it fits pretty good. Nice, 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 nice. Well, we've got the first broad strake in place right now, and it's just a test fit. We don't have any glue on it or anything. We wanted to test it along the rabbet up forward and along this fit to the garbage plank back aft. And we can't even get a feeler in it, so it's pretty tight. You know, we expect all the rest of them to be as tight as that. And, you know, It's fun. It's not hard to do. This plank is a little bit different because it's got quite a bit of twist in it as it gets forward, and it's not very wide. It actually tapers out to a point just like the garbage plank did. So it's a little bit tricky to get it in there, but it does fit when you get it there. So, you know, it's not like you have to rocket science or anything to get that thing pulled in there. We can put clamps in every direction, but the planking is actually going to get easier as you go up because the twist kind of comes back in here. So it's easy enough to get the planking fastened down on that end, and we can clamp it across the stern post, right? So then these clamps here, they push it in and down. You know, we can tighten those up a little bit. You know, they push like 600 pounds a piece, so it's quite a bit. And when you add a little pressure to it like that, and then take a mallet and tap it, it just gets that much tighter. So, you know, I'm going to say that we can take it down and glue it and fasten it on. He's got a line right here that goes right up the line of travel. We decided we would put those smaller screws that put the strip planking on right in line with each other. So then what we're doing with the fastenings is we're spacing them a little bit on each side of that like that. We've got 2 inches of frame there, so we kind of have to be careful, but it really isn't that hard. We just don't want to hit these screws with the screws that are holding it down. And the other thing we're going to do, a little different, I guess you might say, we're going to fasten them on with temporary screws. You know, these are like construction screws, or these are like decking screws, which are the strongest of them all, because you wouldn't want to snap one off in there, but I don't think there's any chance of that. So basically, we'll remove those when the glue's dry, and then this one also, and then we'll shape it a little bit the way we want it. Maybe we'll wait till we get 3 or 4 planks on there, but then we'll shape it a little tiny bit. We'll just remove these so they're not in the way. Shape it a little tiny bit, hollow it up, you know, get this to be perfectly smooth with the other one, and you know, at some point we'll fasten it permanent, but it'll already be shaped. So the depth of the bungs is much easier to kind of figure out, because otherwise you're kind of guessing, you know, and as you build it, you finally start realizing this plugs in 1/8 of an inch and this one's in 3/8 of an inch. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that that's all controlled properly, and I think we got it. I think maybe with the first outfit, they can just saw the planks and put them on. There's no fitting. So, you know, we're going to take this one off right now, put it on the bench again, and we're going to take and glue it on. So you'll see all of that. I can speak while you're rolling.
Something inside. You shook in, man.
You just went for it.
All right.
You got lucky.
All right. And that's thinned a little bit. Is it?
It's straight resin.
Straight resin. Okay.
Straight resin
All right.
and hardener.
Yeah, I got you.
Just the way it is.
All right.
Both thin and in.
We're rolling the inside of this plank out with just straight resin and a roller, because the roller is so fast, it's unreal. We kind of think that we need a primer coat on it, or that'd be the best thing to put a primer coat on it, because it does soak right in. And I don't know, I don't think it needs thinning or anything like that. So, you know, what we're going to do is the easiest way is to roll this on this side. Then we're going to put some thickened glue over that. So there's going to be a fair amount of glue on there. And then where it fits up against the rabbet, we're actually going to put the glue over there. So it's pretty easy to spread it right here. And if it gets on that, we don't care. So that's the way to go. Now we're putting another primer coat right on the boat where it makes contact. I think these things, like this priming and different things like that, stuff that not everybody does. And you know, I think it's just another thing that you can do that makes the boat stronger, and you know, it just really keeps that glue line in great shape. So that's the idea. And when we put the thickened glue on the broad strake, we're going to put it on there fairly thick. So there aren't going to be any spaces behind it, above it, below it, or anywhere else. So that's what we're doing. Go. I took this job away from Ken because I didn't want to do the other job. So, there we go. And like I said before, this is just straight resin. And it's 5-to-1 resin, which Ken's been using on the whole boat, so. Now I'm just scraping a little bit of glue off that I let get down there onto the rabbit. We're going to use a different kind of sealer on the rabbit line, and it's not really glue. So the idea is that if the keel were to shrink or something like that without use or something, you know, it would get away from the planking without splitting the planking or pulling the planking down. So, you know, it's pretty much the way to go here. So now we're gluing the plank up, and it goes right along. Try to do these things without getting any glue on yourself. Now, I think that's a bit much to ask, but we're going to try to do it anyhow. We need more. So, the other thing I want to tell you is that, you know, we roll glue on there, and it looks like it got a fair amount, but you can't really tell because you don't know how thick it is. But a tooth trowel tells you how thick the glue is, like that. So I can move some right over on there. I can steel it. You know, depends on if the teeth pick it up. But see, you can pick the epoxy up with this tooth trowel, and it controls the thickness. So we're scraping right along the wood. So we want to make sure that we have plenty of glue on there. The other thing you do is you kind of scrape towards the edge of the plank, because if you didn't, it would rub all the glue off on the seam, so the edge of the plank. So, you know, you just kind of go diagonal there a little bit when you get near the edges. And
Some more.
I mean, you got any extra glue?
Got plenty.
Oh yeah, I'll put some right here. Nothing easier to get off your hands than epoxy, though. Right, Ken?
How do you do that, Lou?
Soap and water.
Soap and water.
Yeah, it takes it right off. When you get dirt on top of the epoxy, you know, and you're just like a black or brown mess, you know what I mean? It takes that right off, man. I remember telling you how you take that tile, you know, that tile glue up.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, I do. But you shouldn't use that method on your hands.
Oh no, you can't touch it, man.
It's
It's all right. No, it's cool. Just like that. All you need is 2 beads. You don't have to spread it.
Okay.
You know, plank will spread it, man.
Okay.
There you go. Now we're putting polysulfide where the plank touches the rabbet on the stern post. You know, and we've had a million people ask us about why we don't just epoxy it. Well, this polysulfide makes a great seal, and it's actually fairly adhesive, but it's not so adhesive that when you take the boat out and say it was out for a number of years, when the stern posts start to shrink or whatever else, it doesn't crack the planking because it's got a seal or a breakable bedding. That's what it is. This is not breakable, and that is. So that's what we do. Everywhere the plank comes to the rabbet, and the same thing up forward, we're just putting a couple beads of polysulfide. Now those beads of polysulfide we're not going to spread them out because we really don't have to. It spreads so easily that we put a couple of beads down there and we put the plank on it, it'll spread it. Actually, polysulfide and epoxy mixed together, about 15% epoxy, makes a stronger glue line than epoxy itself. And I've already done it, and I did it on some very important boats like Freedom, the Mathis Trumpy Freedom. So, you know, this is not something new. This type of planking or any of this stuff is really not something real new. All right? All right. Well, this is going to be glued together, and many planks, many boats, including military boats, were double planked, but it was done with either canvas in between or shellac or something like that that wasn't very adhesive. So, you know, they had to hold themselves together. And with 2 layers of planking, some people would think, well, that's going to rot because you got 2 layers of planking. Well, you know, I don't think any water's going to get in here, so we're not too worried about, you know, 2 layers of planking. You know, 2 layers of planking or many layers of planking on newer boats like coal molded boats. I mean, you know, no one's been complaining about those things, but, you know, I would think eventually they would have trouble as well. I think this method right here is about as good as you're going to get. Now that thickened epoxy I put right down the middle there is just so that when we put it in place, it'll help squeeze the epoxy from the center, if there's contact, over to the edge. And that's exactly what we want. So we put just a little more down there, and it's easier because the other stuff is kind of drying out. Now it's not kicking. What it's doing is something's making it dry out a little bit. So it's very easy to get that extra thickness right in the middle there. Oh yeah, baby. Well, what we're doing here is being a little bit excessive, possibly, but we want to see how well the glue squeezes out and stuff like that. It's not going to hurt us to really make these glue lines thick, because it's kind of an experiment as to what we're going to run into on the rest of the planking. So, you know, how tight can we make the bevels, and how tight, you know, does the glue squeeze out everywhere or just in spots? So, you know, there's quite a bit to it, but, you know, it's really nothing hard to do, that's for sure. What do you think, Ken? Here we go. Let's pick it up and put it over our heads. Just nice and neat, like now that we got glue, we can't just throw it around. And I'm going to come right up in here to the balance point. So I could put that plank up there myself, but Ken's on the other end. And we're going to go just like that. Right there. Right there. That's not even... yeah, it's only like a half a magic marker line.
You know, we're going to need to make more of those aluminum pieces.
What's that?
We're going to have to make more of those aluminum pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're never there when we that slipped forward.
Absolutely.
How's
Okay,
your
that's
line
cool.
Look now?
Huh?
How's your line look now?
It's good. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, let's stick another one on here. Now, there couldn't be much of anything any faster or easier than this. So, I'm pretty happy. You just line that thing up, get it in the center, and down you go. Then I'm going to take a mallet to it at the same time. Yeah. Now, look at that. Those clamps hold it in and down at the same time. You know, it's something that makes us pretty happy because we know we're not going to go through.
You know what? Let's clamp this from the other side with that block first.
All right. Right about like that. All right, it's snapped in too. Go ahead. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
All right, let me just take a mallet to it at the same time. Phew. Sometimes tools are not easy to find. So I'm going to tap it and you can tighten it. How's that?
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm tightening.
Yeah.
I'm about tight as I can get it.
Well, it's working. I got to get behind me a little bit. Okay, one more time.
Okay.
All right, let's go forward to that. We're going to put a clamp on it across.
Yeah.
All right, I got aluminum here this time. How's that?
Let's see.
Looks good to me. Yeah, now you can see that thing just twisting in there with one clamp. But just to make sure, because this is the most twisted part on the whole boat, so we're going to make sure it's twisted right down there flat. That looks good, Ken.
All right.
That looks real good. Now what you're looking for here, when you look at it, is glue seeping out of it right up here and glue at the bottom. Then you know it's pretty tight, or there's no spaces behind it. So that's exactly what we're looking for. I'll put this one right here. And we'll probably do something up here, just a little something, but
Ooh, that was good. Hit it again. It's in. Make it win. That's it.
now I'm going around and striking it with a mallet because I want to hear that nice solid sound behind it, not hollow. So, you know, you can pretty much tell that it's made contact with the glue. So that's the idea, and it's going to make better contact, quite a bit better, when we put the fastenings in it. Well, I just wanted to show you my hands. Now after that plank, you know, and the spreading of all the glue and everything else, there's my hands right there. I didn't have rubber gloves on or anything. We're just very careful about how we spread and what we do with it and how we clean it up. So, you know, that would be the result that I'm looking for right there. I hate wearing plastic gloves, so I've trained myself to kind of keep clean if I can. Well, now we're going to pre-drill the holes for these decking screws. And I maintain that this is the way to go because of the depth of the plugs and different things like that. You're kind of guessing at it until the boat is faired out. So, you know, we're going to fair it out, remove all the screws that you see, put them, they come out so fast. It's like there's no effort whatsoever. It's bzz, bzz, gone, you know, and then you can fair it up a little bit and then drill for your bronze screws and off you go. So I think that's the way to go. So this right here, we're going to go right there. What? Going to put three?
I just do the.
Now I cleaned it up after we hung the plank, and the reason why I did that is because I want to see how much squeeze out we get after we put a few screws in. We put a few in here, one already, and it's squeezing right out the top. Look at that come out of there, just as nice as can be. Now, like I said before, this boat is plastic framed. It's framed with high density polyethylene. And when you're drilling holes in it, especially with a tapered bit, you can tell when you hit it because it doesn't cut at the very end. It kind of cuts at the sides. So I'll show you what it takes here. You have to push it. Now the next thing is that we've got the frame marked right here, and we're going forwards and aft of this screw line right here, so we don't hit any of those screws. We had put those in a straight line, and we're staggering these fastenings here on either side of that line. So, you know, that works pretty good. Well, the proof's in the pudding. The thing fits really nice, and basically what we got to do is just carry on and You know, I remember saying that I cleaned that glue out in the corner before we screwed it in there or clamped it down real tight. I wanted to see how much glue would come out. And it's coming out everywhere. There isn't a spot where it didn't spit any glue, you know, out from between the two planks. So I think that's pretty comprehensive right there. So what we have to do is just clamp the very, very end of it into position, that feathered part, and we're done.